Hey folks, this is Bardic Dragoon. Welcome back to Dragon Quest III. So when we last left off, we took a personality test and were given supplies by the king so we can take off on a journey to go follow in our father's footsteps and try to defeat the Archfiend Baramos. However, it was suggested we probably might want to gather some companions on that. Because unlike Dragon Quest II, or really the majority of the Dragon Quest games, the characters that join your party are not plot-based. This game actually, is a class-based JRPG. The main character, the hero, is just by default, that is their class, and there is no other options. But every other character you can customize. Let's see, I don't remember what you have to say. If you're looking to put together a good solid party, you'll want a warrior, a priest, and a mage. Patty over there doesn't have what you're looking for. Head upstairs and get the recruitment people to find it for you. And yes, and there's also... No, we don't want to... You can also save our game here. Actually, might have made more sense to save that at the end. Oh well, whatever. Anyway, this here is Patty, or Ruija. Again, weirdness of translation, differences and all that. The version I grew up with, this place was called Ruija's Tavern, which is actually what it's referred to in the original Japanese version. And there's actually recently I learned a Dragon Quest themed restaurant named Ruija's Tavern out in Japan. So that's kind of cool. But in the English translation, it is Patty's Party planning place. Which started, I think, with the translation of Dragon Quest IX, where they started using that as the name for the place where you go recruit party members and all that. Welcome to Patty's Party Planning Place. If you want to find new party members, this is the place to be. Same goes if you want to ditch them, for that matter. So how can I help you? So we can view the roster. By default, the game will throw just 3 randomly generated characters, a warrior, a priest, and a mage at you. And this is actually not a bad choice to just pick for your party. We'll talk more about the different classes, because you can also manually basically create characters to put into your party. And when we see all the options and how things work, there's a lot more to be talk about there. But if you're not familiar with the game and you just want to go with a good party, class-wise, this is a good choice. But the fact that they will have different personalities assigned to them, it becomes questionable whether or not these choices are really good ones to make. But to get good classes, you need to really understand how the game works, particularly the character creation things. So it's not a bad idea. Let me take a look here at the classes on this. Yeah, that is not a good class for war. Well, actually, there are worse options, but it's not a great class for a warrior. Ooh. So that one could be a good one for a priest. And let's see. And that actually would be that's actually a pretty solid one for a mage as well, huh? Okay, so this actually wouldn't be a bad starting party. The warrior might not be a great choice as far as warriors go, but the priest and the mage aren't bad choices. But yeah, and so we can pick up and drop our party members, view who's available. This is a bank. You can deposit golden coins of 1,000. We're not doing that right now. Can't even try. How can we try? He'll be like, you don't have enough money. Stop it. Well, you've got your martial artists. They're quick as you like. Then there's your thieves. Good for treasure hunting, obviously. Then, of course, there's merchants, who they can appraise your items for you, which is pretty useful. Don't go anywhere near the Gadabouts, though. Useless, jokey lot. They are. A bunch of clowns, if you ask me. If you insist on having one along, leave it until you're strong enough to carry some more serious dead weight. Oh, if heroes are chosen by heaven itself, then sages are chosen by gods. Through trials most fearsome and bad for the health, they'll make it against all odds. Meow. I'm not sure what else I expect the cat to say. But yes, if you want to get really into building your party, this is the man you want to talk to. Welcome to Premier Adventure Listing Services. With pals, you're sure to build a winning team. We're here to help you get the hottest adventuring talent out there off the dole and onto your roster. Just tell us what you're looking for and we'll deliver a qualified professional direct to your party planning counter. So, are you looking to bolster your roster with some fresh blood today? Why, yes we are. Now, what kind of person are you looking for exactly? Why don't you give me a name? We'll take it from there. And so, basically, as I said, you can create your own. You can create the characters that'll be in your party. I already know what we want to do for the party, but I'll kind of explain as we go through each step. So the first one is going to be the easiest, which we'll start with the easiest one to kind of sort out and explain things here. John. He's going to be a male priest. Aha! I think I've just what you're looking for. Does this kind of seem like a good fit for your team? And yeah, with the way that this is set, you'll notice first of all they don't have a personality. We'll get to that in a moment. But when a character is created, with the exception, I don't think this applies to the hero, but again, you don't have an easy way to just take a look at that, so it's hard to say. But each character class, and actually gender role, with the exception of priest. Priest, for some reason, like every other class, has base stats that are kind of that are both based on the class and the gender, with it usually being a split of males, or the male version of a class, you tend to have higher strength and resilience, compared to the female version having higher agility and wisdom. Common JRPG tropes for gender differences. Men are stronger and more durable, women are smarter and more agile. Okay, cool, whatever. There are a few exceptions to that general rule of thumb, but that's kind of the basic idea here. Priests, though, as I said, male and female priests are just the same across the board. But there are a set of base stats for each class. However, when you create a character, when a character is created, presumably the same process is done for the 3 default characters the game just throws at you. I don't know though. But the game gives you a number or will just randomly assign between 2 to 10 2 to 10 points to just random stats across the 5 basics: strength, agility, resilience, wisdom, and luck. So, and the number of stats that actually partially determined is kind of weighted. You're most likely to get between 6. You're about 45% chance of getting either 6 or 7 points assigned to, or 6 or 7 points, and that's what you usually end up seeing. And then from there, just the game will be like, okay, this is, here are the chances of how many points, and then it'll be like, okay, point 1 goes here, 2 goes here, and just randomly assign them. So, for a priest, the base starting stats are 4 strength, 5 agility, 4 resilience, 6 wisdom, and 3 luck. So, taking a look at the stat spread, we've got 1 bonus point in agility, 3 in resilience, 2 in wisdom, that's going to be useful, and then none in luck. Okay, that's actually a really good pick for things here. Because the thing is, how a character's stats are determined, or character's personality is determined when you're creating them, is based on their bonus stats. But there's an additional step to the bonus stats. So we're actually going to go with this guy here, because he actually fits what I'm looking for really well, particularly due to having that, +2 to wisdom. And the resilience boost is also not bad, but not as important for what I want to try and accomplish here. Also, I guess the bonus to agility isn't too bad either, but again, not super important. So yes, this looks like the kind of guy I was looking for. It's your lucky day, Lyra. As part of His Majesty's Special Adventurer Program, you're qualified for a Supplementary Educational Enhancement Disposition. It takes the form of 5 attribute-enhancing seeds, which will give your team members a much-needed boost. You can choose the seeds yourself, or allow me to use my career guidance skills to pick for you. If you pick for yourself, you can select up to 5 seeds of your choice for your newfound friend. But if you let me pick, I'll be providing a comprehensive service and applying the seeds as I see fit. So, how will you be distributing John's seed allowance? And yeah, you'll be given 5 stat boosting seeds for the 5 core stats there again. If you choose to let the dude here at the counter choose for you, he'll just randomly be like, here, 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 and here. And then, of course, as with the stat seeds, just in general, when you use them, it's a range of 1 to 3 points that you'll gain when you use that stat seed. You can also choose to do it yourself, which is what we're going to do, because I'm trying to achieve a certain goal here. Alright. So, as mentioned, personality is based off of stat bonuses. basically, whichever stat is your highest stat, and then what range it falls within, and oftentimes what your second highest stat are will determine basically kind of a table of these are the possible personalities you can have, each of them having a certain weighted chance of occurring. The personality that I want to get for this one is going to require that we put a lot of focus on wisdom. With the 8 points that we have there, or with the stat value of 8, as I mentioned, we have 2 points that are bonus already. So to accomplish what I want, we are going to need to get another 8 points, bring us to a total of 10 points. So we are going to be putting a lot. Basically, we probably going to end up putting all of the points for wisdom, or all of the seed points for wisdom. So, Seed of Wisdom, raised by 2. So that means he now has a bonus of 4. Seed of Wisdom, has a bonus of 7. We might actually get lucky here. Seed of Wisdom, I got a bonus of 8. Though admittedly, since you can't get less, since you can at minimum get 1 point, we are going to be guaranteed to get, well, not what I want to get, but with a male priest, or actually the same thing applies for a male mage, if you have a wisdom bonus of 10 or higher, there are two personalities you can get: genius or wit. Genius being the more likely with a 75% chance versus a 25% chance for wit. Both choices, though, are very good for priests or mages. With the genius personality, they gain a 20% bonus to agility, a 40% bonus to wisdom. They do suffer a 20% penalty to resilience and a 10% penalty to luck, but you know, they can heal, and with the bonuses to wisdom that they'll have a pretty solid MP pool and likely learn spells early, which is why I've chosen to do a priest. We'll get to that in a moment, though. But anyway, and the other option, a wit, they have a 30% bonus to wisdom, and then a 10% penalty to luck, and a 5% penalty to strength. That is ostensibly the better class, just due to the fact that you end up with less penalties than you do for using or going with or for ending up as a genius. Though the bonus to agility can be useful as well, as it kind of counteracts the penalty you get to resilience if you end up as a genius, since you'll have better defense. But just not having to worry about that isn't bad, and since priests actually do use normal attacks a lot because they don't get a lot of offensive spells. So it's a hard call on that. But if you can get a total of 10 points plus to your wisdom bonus as a priest or mage, male priest or mage, it's a different table for females, but we're going with a male character here right now, because there are certain actually personalities that are restricted by gender, so that does factor into what personalities you get and different things like that. But yeah, what are we at? 14 wisdom. That means we have 8. Okay. And we now have a bonus of 11. So we are guaranteed to get either genius or wit. To hedge our bets on this, I think I'll put the last seed into resilience, since, the more likely of the two options is genius, which is going to give us a major penalty. It's going to give us a pretty big penalty to resilience, and even if we end up getting lucky and getting wit, it's still not a bad stat to have some points in for any class. Seems like quite the genius, eh? So you'll be recruiting John. Is that all right with you? Yes, it is. Okay, that's all done. Just pop over to Patty's party planning place and pick up your newest team member. Will you be looking to recruit anybody else today? Yes, because we're going to be creating a fully custom team. And to talk about things, let's start with the next character here. To go over what each of the classes are. Because some of them are probably fairly obvious, but some of them may not be. And she is going to be female. Alright, so we have the different classes here. Now, it's already been mentioned, that guy there, martial artists are... let's go from the top. Warriors. Warriors are your basic meat tanks. This game doesn't have any kind of, what's it called, aggro system or anything like that. But due to the fact that the way that party lineup works, the person in the front is more likely to get attacked and will take more, or I know they take more damage. I know in some later ones, I know particularly Dragon Quest VIII, it actually affects the chances of being targeted. I don't remember if that works in this case here. But yeah, warriors can equip or have solid resilience and strength. Probably they have solid resilience and strength and can equip the best armor and weapons in the game. So they'll have they'll tend to have high HP, high defense, and really high attack power. They never learn any magic, and they don't really have any tricks besides hitting things really hard with their weapon. But that's not a bad skill to have in an older RPG like this, or just an RPG in general. Martial artists are a more nuanced kind of warrior. They don't get all the strength bonuses that they have. In fact, for a martial artist, or they don't get all the equipment, rather, that warriors do. They only get light armor, and their weapon selection, especially in versions starting with the Super Famicom release, is very limited. In the original release, they could equip a pretty solid number of weapons, but the main thing was that anything that wasn't in the class of claws would actually lower their attack power. So basically, you would have them wandering around unarmed, with a few exceptions. That said, so they don't really get a lot of benefits from equipment. They do have a pretty solid. Well, they actually have the highest starting attack in the game, outpacing even the second highest class, the warrior, by a good 50% roughly. They also will have typically they also have a high agility. So they'll have naturally high attack and defense, but they don't really have don't have a good way to augment that with equipment in the way that warriors can augment their naturally high or their pretty solid attack power. However, the main thing with martial artists, because much like warriors, they don't actually gain any magic, but the main thing with martial artists is the fact that they have an increased chance for critical hit. Whereas for any other class or character, the chance is a 1 in 64, which, what is that? I think it's like 0.5% or something like that. Give me one moment. I probably should have read my calculator more readily available. Yeah, 1.5% chance of landing a critical hit whenever they attack. Martial artists, however, have a different calculation. Their chance to land a critical hit is actually their level divided by 256. This actually means that to start off with, they do have a lower crit chance than most other characters, as 1 out of 256 is a much lower. Why are you being weird, calculator? Because yeah, 1 out of 256 is 1/3% chance. Not great. However, I believe the cutoff or the changeover point is. Yeah, once they hit level 5, they will start having a higher critical chance, and they actually can get up to a pretty solid point. There is a cap to it, so you can't get a 99 out of 256% chance of doing it or landing a critical hit. The max level, or the max is 64. After level 64, they stop getting that bonus to it. It's just 64 out of 256 is their critical hit chance, which that is still 25%, and that is super late game, so like leveling up beyond that is not something to be seeing much of anyway, so not a super big deal. Mages. Yeah, mages are magic users, pretty much. They are your offensive magic users, dealing damage, inflicting status ailments, stuff like that. They're the black mages if you're coming over from Final Fantasy. They're pretty standard for that role. Pretty squishy. They don't have great strength or great resilience. They actually have decent agility, and of course their wisdom stat, since that affects their MP pool and their ability to learn spells, is pretty solid. Pardon me. But as I said, they do have a somewhat decent agility. It's like the third highest actually. It's about the third highest out of all the classes, which, given that they don't have great armor, kind of helps to counteract the fact that the agility stat helps to counteract the fact that they don't have a super great selection of armor. But they make up for it by the fact that they can just fry enemies, and that's great. Priests, as we've already recruited, they're your healers. They actually start with the heal spell, whereas otherwise the only other characters to learn it would be the hero themselves, and they don't learn it until level 3. And that's kind of the main reason I went with choosing a priest. Priests are significantly better healers, because kind of your options for healers in the game are rather limited. You basically have one moment. Let me just double check to make sure I'm remembering the general layout of the spell table here really quickly. And yeah, as far as healing magic, only the hero and the priest and one other class, we'll get to that in a few moments here, can learn healing magic. And the hero learns it at a much slower rate. As already mentioned, the basic healing spell, priests start with the healing spell. By comparison, the hero won't learn it until about level 4. Again, with the whole wisdom adjusting when you can learn spells, you can potentially learn it as early as level 2 or as late as level 7 in this version. Other versions, that range would be closer to 2 to 9, but in this version, you can learn anywhere between levels 2 to 7, but usually around level 4 where you'll learn it. That one's not so bad. The main one comes in mid-heal. Mid-heal is learned by a priest at around level 14, whereas the hero won't learn it until around level 29. Now, aside from those two, their learning of spells of healing magic is pretty standard between them. The other one that they both learn is full heal, which they both learn around level 30, 33. So that was not too difficult. But and then they each have a unique healing spell as far as multi-targeting spells, and each one of those learned that in the later 30s level-wise. So that's pretty useful and interesting. As I said, went with a priest just because to have a solid healer in the party, you don't have to rely on herbs and all of that. Merchant is in a bit of an unusual class, particularly in the original release. In the version we're playing here, or really any version starting with the Super Famicom version, they are slightly more useful, or slightly more defined. But in the original release, they were basically substandard warriors. Stat-wise, they are kind of middle of the road on all of their stats. They have okay attack power. It's actually the third or fourth, depending on what version of the game you're playing, as one of the classes is exclusive to Super Famicom Remake and beyond. So if you're playing the original, merchants tend to have about the third highest attack power, or third highest strength. Their agility is actually the lowest in the game. They don't get good agility, or they don't have a good agility. Resilience, though, is pretty middle of the road, as is their wisdom, though in the original NES version they didn't have any use for a wisdom stat because they didn't learn magic. The main thing with merchants is twofold. Actually, one of those is NES only, so onefold. You can actually get extra money at the end of a fight. Basically, if you have a merchant in your party, there is a chance that at the end of the fight, you'll I don't know the particular calculation, but it'll basically give you extra money for the enemies that you killed. That can be useful, depending on your party build. I don't find it super useful. I mean, if I really need money, I can just go grind. I don't want to grind, but, what the merchant brings to the party otherwise isn't super great. Because beyond that, they're, equipment-wise and stat-wise, subpar warriors. They don't have quite as good they have good equipment, but not quite as good. Actually, their equipment table is pretty similar to a warrior, but they don't really have the stats to kind of make that stand out as being, super amazing. The other thing, but starting with Super Famicom release, they actually gained a couple of spells. Dig and Service Call. Dig basically allows you to just find random gold or items when you cast it, and be like, oh, you dug into the ground and maybe you found something, or maybe you didn't. Doesn't matter. Service Call allows you to call a merchant when you're on the world map. It's okay. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, this is the most amazing spell ever, but, you know, like, if you're on the middle of a long journey and running low on resources, it can be useful. If you're going to not have a priest in the party, you probably will want to go with a merchant just for that alone, but even then, I just recommend going with a priest first. The other thing that they do have is, well, there's actually one thing with priests, or with merchants. You do need a merchant in order to beat the game. They don't need to be a fixture of your party, and in fact, for the part that you need them for, they will leave your party for an extended period of time. So it's usually best to just create a merchant, and then go do the thing, and then put them in your party, go do the thing, then go back to your normal party until it's done. And then put your merchant, well, depending on the version you're playing, you won't get the merchant. You may or may not get the merchant back, but if you do, go drop them back at Patty's place, because, like, yeah, you're not going to use them. Thieves, and yes, I'm skipping Gadabout for a reason. Thieves are a class that were introduced in the Super Famicom release. Thieves are, if you ask me, more interesting merchants, in the fact that their main advantage is a passive ability to them in battle. They can steal items, which basically gives you, for the last enemy you kill in an enemy party, you get 2 chances for them to drop an item. The normal just enemy dropped an item chance for just any enemy in the party, and then the last enemy in the party, if you have a thief, or the last enemy killed in a battle, the thief will have a chance to steal whatever the dropped item is for that. There's not any really super... pardon me. There isn't any really super amazing, like, item drops, at least that I'm aware of, that, like, you know, a thief is an absolute must-have. This isn't like Final Fantasy games where, like, yo, you want to have someone who can steal by the time you get to boss XYZ because they have, like, the best item ever in the game or something like that. There's nothing like that in this game. But they're still pretty useful to have. Stat-wise, they are about the same as a merchant, focusing more predictably on agility. They have the that's actually the class. Depending on it, they have about the same. The male actually has slightly higher strength by only a point than a merchant, but in general they have roughly the same strength as a merchant. But they actually have the highest agility stat in the game. So even though their armor options aren't super great, about the same as a martial artist, they will actually be a lot tankier due to that. Well, at least as far as class with high agility. A warrior's probably still going to beat them out just because of raw stats on their equipment, but you get the point. Other than that, they're pretty standard middle of the road. They actually have the second highest luck stat out of the game, but again, what luck does in the game, having a high luck stat is good, but it's all RNG and luck, so, you know, it's not super essential. Like, you shouldn't be like, I'm going to build a luck-based character. Well, I hope you have been able to win the lottery, because you're going to need it, buddy. Anyway, that's actually what Natasha's going to be here. So we'll talk about Gadabout in a moment, because that is going to be the 4th character in the party. I'm ignoring what that guy said, because, well between what him and the bard there said, there's a very good reason to choose a Gadabout. But let's first finish making Natasha here. Let me get my notes, make sure I remember her name. Right, there were 2 ways that I wanted to try and proceed if I was going to do Thief. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Because female Thief starting stats are 5 strength, 12 agility, 5 resilience, 6 wisdom, and 8 luck. So here we've got... Ooh! They just dumped all the bonus points into strength, didn't they? Let's see, we got 5 strength bonus points in strength. Oh, 2 in agility. 1 in resilience. Oh, thieves do actually learn magic as well. Again, exploration-based skills. They can tell you how far you are from a town. Pardon me. Help you find, or like tell you how many treasure chests are unopened in a dungeon. allow you to reduce the number of random encounters, and they can actually they have a spell that allows you to tell if a chest is trapped or not. But that is a thing in this game that was not in the other ones. But yeah, as for the stats here, we've got 5 bonus points of strength, 2 of agility, 1 of resilience, and then the other 2 are pretty standard. So that is actually super great for what I wanted to do with this character. Let me double check something here really quickly. Because, yeah, strength being the highest for female thief. Okay, wait, no. Sorry. I made some notes here and I'm realizing I did not make them in a very... Okay. I did my chart backwards for some reason. Okay. So, with this build, there's 2 options that I wanted to go with, because I do have a plan long-term what I'm going to do with this thief character here. Alright, I'm going to distribute the seeds myself. Okay. And for that, there are 3 potentially good choices for their personality, which gives me kind of 2 ways I can approach this. Given that we already have a +5 to our strength, we're in a good position to get really either one of them. So I actually need to decide which one I want. Yeah, the options that I was looking at were Idealist, Amazon, or Tomboy. Amazon gives a 30% is a female exclusive personality, gives a 30% bonus to strength, while giving a 10% penalty to agility and a 20% penalty to both wisdom and luck. Given that thieves aren't really magical classes, the penalty to wisdom isn't super bad, and since they have the highest luck, giving them a penalty to luck isn't super bad, and again, luck is, it's an okay stat. The agility penalty isn't super great, but that bonus to strength can be useful, since they are functionally in battle going to be just a kind of a martial artist essentially, but with a slightly different and potentially better weapon selection for various reasons. The other option would be either a tomboy or an idealist. Tomboys gain 10% bonus to both strength and agility, but do suffer penalties. Do suffer penalties to everything else with a 20% penalty to resilience, and then 10% to wisdom and luck. So that one is ostensibly a better choice because it does accentuate the thief already having a solid agility stat. As well as boosting strength, which is going to be useful. The other option would be Idealist, is the other one I would want to end up with, which would be 15% to strength. No penalties to, only penalty would be a major penalty, 40% to luck, 10% penalty to wisdom, again, not too upset about that, but we get a 15% bonus to strength and a 10% bonus to resilience. And that actually is, I think, what I'm going to aim for on that. So that means that we are going to be dumping points into strength, because we want to have a bonus of 11 or more. So we already have a bonus of 5, so let's see if we can get those additional 6 points here. Alright, not off to a great start. We have 6 bonus now. 7. 9. Okay. So we can do this. Though, of course, there's a 50% chance that I'm going to get one of the ones that I want there. Versus on this... yeah, but it's going to be at the same, about a 40-50% chance for the other one. And Okay, let's quickly take a look here. Because if I go for either... Because Idealist and Tomboy fall into the same bracket, but they are also in there with Meathead, which I don't think I really want on that one, but let me double check I'm remembering that correctly here. Yeah, Meathead is 30% bonus to Strength, 20% penalty to Agility, and then 30% penalty Wisdom, 20% to Luck, and no change on Resilience, so that actually wouldn't be too bad of a choice on that. Whereas if I go with Amazon, if I try to aim for Amazon, I could end up with Daredevil, which is going to be 5% penalty to Strength, 20% bonus to Agility, 15% bonus to Resilience, and yeah, we're going to aim for the Idealist Tomboy, or maybe you'll get Meathead. Hopefully we don't get the last one, because every bracket has one negative personality, which is going to be a problem. But anyway, we have 9 points right now to our Strength bonus, so... And there we go, we have 11 points to Strength. Now, because of how this could end up going... Agility or Resilience is going to be the best. Considering Resilience is, like, they naturally have high Agility, and we have a solid bonus here to Agility as well to start with. Well, 2 points, but they already have good Agility. And Resilience, yeah, let's go with Resilience. Acrobat. That is, what? Oh no, I fucked up. We have 11 Strength. Yeah, Acrobat should only show up if you have... Well, if Strength is your highest bonus, if you have below 10 and Agility your second highest. But Agility is tied with Resilience, and we have 11 points. Okay, well, let's... we'll go with the roll of the dice, but let's see what that gives us as far as being an Acrobat. What did that do? Let's see. Ooh, 90% to Strength, or 10% penalty to Strength, 20% bonus to Agility, 10% to Resilience, and 20% to Luck. Or 27% penalty to Luck, rather. So the only thing we really get is a bonus to Agility. No. Let's try this again. Because something didn't go right there. Yes. Let's try re-rolling Natasha again here. Female, thief, and oh boy, we're not. We rolled much worse on the initial creation here. +1 to Strength, +1 to Agility, +1 to Resilience, +2 to Wisdom, and +2 to Luck. Alright, let's see how this goes. Do it myself. Alright. So we got +3, +5. +7, +10, +11. Genius. How am I getting Genius? Where is Genius even at on the... No, let's try this once more. The table I'm looking at might not be correct, but we're going to try this once more. And we're just going to go all in on Strength and make sure we're at 11 or higher. Female, thief. Let's see, they have +1 to Strength, +4 to Agility. Okay. plus 5 or plus nothing to resilience, plus 3 to wisdom, plus 1 to luck. Okay. Do it myself. Alright, so now we're at plus 4 on strength. Plus 7 on strength. Plus 8. Plus 9. Plus 12. There we go. Okay. So apparently the cutoff might be 12 rather than 11 like I was looking at on the tables here. Huh. Because, yeah, the other one that was giving me were lower than what the table's listing is, lower than 10 with what your second highest is, rather than the 11 plus that I was giving. But okay, there we go. And this is actually really good. Yes. Alright. So then, last party member. We are going to be recruiting. Actually, I need to remember how to spell this. Okay. Sorry, I had to make sure I remembered how to spell this, and I'm glad I did, because I nearly messed up the joke. And to anyone who gets the joke, congratulations to you. Crystal. It was going to be a female Gadabout. Now, why choose a Gadabout? Well, because... Oh, partially because I hate myself. No, actually. Gadabouts are a weird class. The way that Gadabouts work is that Gadabouts are functionally warriors, but with an interesting twist. When you give them a command, they only have, I believe it's like 75% chance. Yeah. They have a 25% chance of ignoring your command. And when they do that, they'll just do something random and weird. Usually that's just going to end up in them wasting their turn. Sometimes it can have special effects like basically making them defend, or sometimes it can do things like make them fall asleep, or they can damage the enemy or themselves, or there's actually some, if you get them to a really high level, they can do things like cause enemies to lose their turn, cast multi-target healing, doing stuff like that. However, they are really hard to work with because of the fact they're so random. Their stats are actually not too bad. Actually, no, they're pretty terrible. Their luck is the highest in the game, with the exception, or the highest in the game, but all of the other stats are below average usually. However, with that bard, he mentioned he mentioned sages. You can't recruit a sage. Sages are not born. Sages are created. There are two ways that you can get a sage. First one is to find a unique item that you get somewhere around. You can get somewhere around halfway through the game. It's through an optional quest that allows you to turn any character into a sage. The other option is using a Gadabout. We create the party right here, but the other thing with the party here, about halfway, or I believe it's somewhere like 40 to 60% of the way through the game. Actually, let me take a quick look here, check on something. Okay, so it's about a third of the way through the game. I was a little bit off on that. Roughly a third of the way through the game, we'll come to a place that will allow us to change character job classes. The full details of that we'll get to when we get to that. But one thing is that Gadabouts are the only class that can be changed into a sage without using a special item. Hence, if you want to have more than one sage in your party, it behooves you to recruit a Gadabout. You can actually, if you're feeling really ballsy, do a party of all Gadabouts and then transfer them or change them all to sages. But I'd recommend doing that. Do a priest and 2 Gadabouts, because you can give the priest the book and turn them into a sage anyway, and it'll make your life a bit easier. But yeah, beyond that, Gadabouts do have some advantages as far as what kind of weapons they can use and things like that. And as I said, well, at lower levels it's not so great. Some of their later options for just what they do when they goof off in battle can have some options, particularly if you're going to go with the Gadabout. I suggest doing a female one, because some of the options that they get for when they goof around, there are certain ones that can do they can have different effects. Like there's this effect, but if it's male or female, it's a different prompt, and in one case it has a different effect. With 2 cases actually. One of them being that for a male Gadabout, it does nothing, like just waste their turn. For a female Gadabout, it has a chance of causing the enemy to skip their turn. There's actually another one, but this is like much later on, which like past the point where you probably should just turn them into a sage anyway, where you can they can do an attack or they can do one of their goof off options. For a female, it will once again cause the enemy to skip its turn, but for a male, it'll actually damage the enemy. So if you're planning to actually stick with a Gadabout, and there's some room to argue that maybe a male might be marginally better or might not be as a bad choice, but for my purposes here, I went with a female. And as for what we are going to accomplish with that, as far as a personality, well, to start with, let's take a look at these stats. Female Gadabout starts default as 4 strength, 3 agility, 5 resilience, 3 wisdom, and 10 luck. Let's see, we have here +2 to strength, +1 to agility, +1 to resilience, +2 to wisdom, and +1 to luck. And also, Gadabouts do get a spell. It basically allows you to spawn a random encounter whenever you want. So, what we're going to want here is... Okay. That's right, we wanted to focus on wisdom for what we were wanting to accomplish here. And we want it to be between 6 and 9 point bonus. So we already have a 2-point bonus. So yeah, we can do this. Do it myself. Alright, so now that puts us at 4 points. And yeah, we want... Just make sure there's not... Yeah, if wisdom is your highest stat. Any one of the other ones that doesn't factor second highest. Okay. So that means we got 4. We have 7. Okay. So we have 3 more seeds available. And to avoid having something be higher than our wisdom bonus of 7, we've got to be careful on this. Because, yeah, we've got... Well, I can't go above 7. And that one wouldn't be able to either if we do. Okay. So I know what we're going to do. 1 to strength, 1 to agility, 1 to resilience. That's actually a pretty solid stat spread. Okay, clown. That's what I was thinking. There was 2 possible choices I wanted to get, with both of them fell into that same bracket. Either clown or vamp. Which both have the same percentage chance if you get that bracket of between 6 to 9 points of... Or your wisdom being the highest and it being 6 to 9 points for that bonus. For what we got, clown, that gives us a 20% bonus to agility, 30% penalty to resilience, 10% bonus to wisdom, and 30% bonus to luck. Or sorry, wrong column. 20% bonus to agility, no bonus to strength, 5% penalty to resilience, 15% bonus to wisdom, and 10% bonus to luck. It's actually a really solid one, kind of a fitting fit for a Gadabout, more so a male Gadabout than a female, but when we actually recruit them, you'll see that. And if you hadn't gotten the joke where I was going with the name, it might make sense by the time we get there. But anyway, and yeah, that's a pretty solid one to go with for a Gadabout by themselves. Having high agility means that they'll have a better defense, so they'll be more survivable, they'll be better capable of surviving, and they don't really get any penalties to anything. However, the bonus to wisdom, well, it doesn't do anything for them as a Gadabout. With the transitioning to a sage, obviously having a higher wisdom is going to be more beneficial for when they're a sage, as sages are basically a mage and a priest merged into one, with slightly better stats all around in general, if I'm not mistaken. But the main thing is they learn all the spells a mage and all the spells a priest would learn. So having a high wisdom is good for a sage. since we're using a Gadabout to eventually turn them into a Sage, having as high wisdom is going to be beneficial. Now the other option that I would have gotten, would have been happy with here, and this would, as I said, was Vamp. Vamp is another female exclusive personality. It's actually, quick thing on the exclusiveness, as I already mentioned, Amazon and Tomboy as well is also female exclusive. And then Princess and Vamp. Those are all only female characters can get those, or can have those classes, or those personalities. There is then also there are also a few male exclusive ones, namely Lothario and Lucky Devil. If I'm not mistaken, Lucky Devil, you can get a female character with the Lucky Devil personality trait, but in order to do it, like, it's one of those things you have to use an item. Like, you can't roll a female character with the Lucky Devil personality trait, but there's an item that you can use to give someone that, and it can be used on a female character, if I'm not mistaken, even though it's normally a male exclusive personality. I don't know why. I'm also not sure why Lucky Devil is a male exclusive personality. I don't know. Like Princess, Tomboy, Amazon, and I guess Vamp. Like, you could have Vamp as like a guy, but I don't know. It's mostly a thing you think of as like a girl thing. But yeah. Anyway, point is though, the other one would have been Vamp, and that one is, some people consider it the best personality in the game. It's actually that or Lucky Devil kind of are the two best options. They would provide the largest number of bonuses, with a total of plus 70 for a Vamp or plus 60 for a Lucky Devil. But the spread is very, like, you don't have a lot of like really big bonuses. Like if with Vamp, you get 10% bonus to strength, 20 to resilience, or 20 to agility, 5 to resilience, 15 to wisdom, and 20 to luck. Again, that would have been a good choice for, particularly for the Gadabout and also for the Sage, though arguably Clown is a better option since it does give, or for the long term, since, actually no, it's the same bonus, so it doesn't matter actually. Actually, Vamp would have been an all-around better option than what we did, but either way, I'm good with this. And yes, we are recruiting Crystal. Not at the moment, no. As I said, you will want to create a merchant, but the point where you'll need that is much later in the game, so I'm not going to worry about it now. Alright, so let's recruit our party members. Pick up. We're going to pick up John. And look at that manly mustache. Natasha. And Crystal. And her bunny girl outfit. I'm probably going to explain the joke eventually, but for the moment, Crystal and her bunny outfit, important part of the party here. And nope, that's it. Okay, and wow, I have spent an hour. Oh yeah, and I love the walk cycles of each of them. Like, you know, normal. Okay, walk, 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 walk. But the front view sprite, she's constantly winking. I don't know why that amuses me. Anyway, I did not mean to take an hour explaining stats and all of that, but I hope this was educational for you guys. And, well, we've actually got our character party here, so that's good. So, I think we're going to call it a day. Tune in next time where we finally, 3 episodes into this series, get our adventure started. Until then, though, as always, okay, pardon me. Okay, she's doing a shimmy walk. Like, what the heck is going on with the, like, torso there when it's like she's standing behind Natasha there? It's like, what is going on with her torso? Yeah, she's doing a shimmy walk. That makes sense. Actually, it looks like she's more dancing than walking. Anyway, till next time, as always, later, folks.